one form or another. And I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to help the people in Pakistan to really go from implementing an agile process, and as such a good process like Kanban. And it's all thanks to my dear good friend Zishan, who's really helped me along the way, and Mohsen, of course. So what we're doing is we're introducing Kanban certificates and coaching in Pakistan. Now, a lot of people actually think, oh, is it really worth my while doing Kanban? And the actual answer is, yeah, it is, because it will not just improve your project management skills, your portfolio management, your business analyst skills. It will improve every single methodology or framework you do. And we're going to be discussing that today. So a lot of people ask me, what does actually Kanban mean? And the impression that people actually get of a Kanban is actually, it's just a board, but it's more to that, and there is a lot more to that. So we're going to start right from the basics. So kan basically means visual. Remember, this is a Japanese word, okay? And ban means a card. Okay, so all it is a visual card or a visual signal. Now, to be honest with you, Kanban has been around literally from the cavemen and moving forward. Back in the day, when you used to do the Indians used to use smoke signals. The South American Indians, and they used to use smoke signals, mirror signals. So signaling has been around for a long time. I mean, one of the biggest signals we see ourselves regularly here, especially in the UK, if you catch the underground train in London, there's always a train driver and a conductor comes in and he gives a signal and says, yes, you can go, or no, you can't go. So signals have been around. But what Kanban tells you, it's actually what to produce, when to produce it, and how much to produce. And if you think about those three things, there's so much thought and it goes into it. And if you think what, when, and how, you're actually getting rid of waste. And that's what Kanban does. It helps you get rid of waste, and it also improves the way you function as well. So let's have a look at some of the principles of Kanban here, okay? So there's change management involved as well in Kanban. So you've got change management here. You've got start with what you're doing now. Don't just wait for something else to happen or something to come or somebody to give you something, or wait for a new framework or methodology or whatever. Start with what you're doing now. Improve through evolutionary change. Evolve as you go along, evolve. And a lot of people think the Kanban board is one size fits all, but it's not. You evolve according to what you want for your situation. You encourage acts of leadership. So we encourage acts of leadership. So anybody at any point can be a leader at every level. You don't have to wait for a manager or CEO, COO, whatever, to come and say, well, here you go. No. Acts of leadership at every single level will actually help the way Kanban improves, and it will improve your process. Kanban is not just about change management, it's also about service delivery. What services are we delivering, when we're delivering it, and how much, going back to the previous questions, what, when, and how. So Kanban says focus on what the customer actually needs. Does the customer actually need this thing here? What work are we doing? When are we doing this work? How much of that work do we need to do? Kanban also says, let people self-organize, let them self-organize amongst the Kanban board, amongst themselves. And as you understand the process, you realize actually, the more you self-organize, the better and the more productive you will become. Just like the standard model, the theory that you understand, but it's all about self-organizing. And Kanban allows you to become self-organized around the board. And you're involved with policies to improve outcomes. What policies, rules, regulations do we have? I mean, everybody's got rules and regulations. If you think about it, there are rules in your house. There's regulations as well that you have in your house. There are rules and regulations that your parents give you as well. But the question is here, what rules and regulations you have at work? But do you use those rules and regulations around the Kanban board as well? Every project will have different rules, regulations, and is it one size fits all for the rules and regulations? How do people actually proceed with that as well? Okay, so let's have a look at the Kanban practices. If you see here on my screen, on the actual writer side, visualize, limit the whip, manage flow, make policies explicit, feedback loops, and improve and evolve. So let's have a look at these here in a bit more detail. One of the things Kanban actually encourages, and it encourages people to actually visualize your work. Now, if you think about it, there's an old saying here, I'm sure you guys have all heard it, a picture speaks 1,000 words. Rather than having reams and reams and reams of actual work or documents, Kanban says just visualize it, picture it. As you picture your work, you can see that more often. And for that, what Kanban says you build. Motion, do you want to mute the participants? Right. I've got a question for you guys. Can somebody tell me, anybody here, so how do you visualize your work? This is my question to you. Anybody, how do you visualize your work in a project? So this is my question to the group here. Anybody want to help me?
Nadeem, because actually joining in. Can you repeat the question?
So my question is to the group, to everybody here. Can somebody please tell me how you visualize your work? What visualizing practices you actually use at work? So let's have a discussion around that. Anybody want to answer that question?
I think so far what I can understand is something that definitely through some tools on boards, if you're using Scrum. Other than you go for the old practices, this is something, the Excel sheets are the best and more colorful things to visualize.
Yep.
So there are some created KPIs created so that these are used for monitor or track your work. So these kind of things mostly used.
Excellent.
I'll second, what Mohsin just mentioned, because, for me specifically, I would just say that Visual Studio, some charts and graphs here and there, and then probably, Excel is one thing that's being used the most, at least at my workplace.
Okay, that's fine. Somebody, Abdul Hanan said you use Excel sheets to visualize your work. That's fine. You use Excel sheets. Anybody else use anything else apart from that? So boards, pictures, grid frame diagrams, anything else?
Actually, we have.
Nadeem, this is Steve. I think you could also use CFDs, right, to visualize the work.
You can use CFDs, cumulative flow diagrams. Anything else? So somebody else? Sorry, I think there were two people talking there. There's one CFD and what was the other one? Sorry? I'll just have a look at the chat page here. Figma mock-ups, excellent. So you can see you've got a wide variety of things that you're actually visualizing. So Jira, excellent. You use Jira, Asana, things are starting to come in, excellent. So we've got this Kanban says visualize your work. Don't just work in reading the reams of documents. Visualize it and use that visualization. Build a visual model. Now Kanban also states when you build a visual model, excellent, Microsoft project, thank you. Kanban says when you use a visualization product, if you notice what you guys here are talking about is one size fits all. But is that really necessary for your project? You need to ask yourself that question. Kanban says you use a visual model, but you make that model work for you, for yourself, for your project. Okay. So you've got to, Kanban talks about limiting the work in progress. Okay, what work, why do you think we need to limit the work? And a really big thing, this is a question to everybody, is Kanban really talks about stop starting and start finishing. Now, the old way of thinking is what people do is just, give you more and more work, give you more work, keep you busy. But are you actually finishing the work or are you keep starting the work? So my question to the group is, do you think as a group, everybody here, do you think limiting the amount of work you do, is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? If you want to unmute yourself or you want to put some answers in the chat page, that'd be greatly appreciated. I'll start reading them out. So Mohammed Farhan says stop starting and start finishing. Okay, but is that answering my question? So my question to you guys, is limiting your work, is it a good thing or a bad thing? Okay, so some people saying it's a good thing, it increases productivity. Yeah, Armour goes, it's good, we need to limit the WIP to focus on specific items. Yeah, anything else? Sometimes it is good, sometimes it is bad. Yeah, I like that one, Muhammad Rafi. Plenty of food for thought there. That Muhammad Tariq goes, it depends. Anybody else? Mohsin, do you think, this is a question to Mohsin, do you think limiting work is good or is it bad?
Definitely good in our scenario.
Okay, definitely.
And we have to maintain some limit. So you can focus on some particular delivery.
Okay, Waleed, you said it totally depends. It depends on what, Waleed? If you can answer that, that'd be really good. Steve M, question for you. What's your viewpoint on limiting the WIP? If you want to unmute yourself.
I think having a unit size WIP would be the most efficient. So definitely it would tie back to what you're saying about stop starting and start finishing. So definitely would.
Yeah, excellent. So that's what Kanban talks about, guys. Okay, so excuse me. So that's what Kanban talks about. Let's start finishing the work before you get given more work. And how do we do that? And a lot of people think that, oh no, do you know what? We're just gonna keep you busy. But focusing the traditional way of work is, if I keep you busy, are you really productive? That's the question. Okay. So Azisha's turned around and said, having less number of cars on the road is always a good thing. Yeah, I'll second that where I live. Yeah. Right. Managing flow. So moving on to the third question here is, flow is the movement of work, how the work moves when the work comes in and when it finishes, how it finishes. So my question to the entire group is, how do you manage the work? How do you manage the flow of the work, the way you do it? Zishan, I'll ask you that question. How do you manage flow?
We can make an explicit policies. How can we move from one step to next step?
Okay, is that what you do in your projects?
Not all of the projects. Some teams are not mature enough as the different maturity level of the teams. But for my personal project, yes.
Excellent, good. Stephen, what's your viewpoint on that? Thank you, Zishan.
I would say it would be a combination of using WIP limits and policies, because you're trying to get something from one point to the other, right? If I'm just thinking out loud, so if you increase the WIP limit, you're actually going to kind of increase the cycle time of the process as well, the system, if you look at it.
Excellent, good.
So it's a combination of both.
Yeah, excellent. No, I like that. Good. I mean, Muhammad Rafi's written here, sometimes you need to push the flow. How do you push the flow then, Muhammad Rafi? If you want to mute your mic and discuss that with me.
In my opinion, there are some part of the team who are not very mature, and they are not very eager to perform their work. Sometimes push them.
Okay, so it's, again, like you said, I like your point. It's all about maturity and improving the maturity of the team. Yeah, fair enough. I like that. So managing flow, that's what we talk about. Make policies explicit. Have you agreed on any rules? Remember earlier on when we talked about rules and regulations in your household, in your school, in your work environment, or any sort of environment you're in, there are always rules and regulations. Kanban specifically talks about what rules and regulations are there actually in your project. And do you actually follow those rules, or do you bend those rules? What policies are there? Does everybody understand those policies? Yeah, Kanban talks about enhancing shared understanding, make it transparent. So how do we make policies transparent? Can somebody answer that question for me, please? So in your project, how would you make a policy or rules or regulation transparent when you're working on a project? Okay, if you want to unmute yourself as well, if that could help. Motivation, communication, I like that one. Anything else? Zahid, do you want to unmute yourself and ask me a question?
Yeah, I think making policies transparent, just not to share the policies with all the employees, but take their input in the policy. That is also the definition of transparency. If you have
Okay.
a policy at your own and just share with the employees that this is the policy and it's a transparent, no, this is not transparent. Take the input from the employees on that policy. After that, implement their input as well if feasible. Then share. That is the transparency, I think.
Okay, that's good point. But you also mentioned there, you mentioned a very particular word. You said, if possible. And how do you make the impossible to possible as well? So Kanban talks about that. I really like the way your thought process is good. Taking everyone along, governance, control, excellent. Harris, I like that one. Tracking activities, yes. Openness, project, good. So Kanban talks about that. And we teach you how to make these policies explicit and make them transparent so everybody can see them. Kanban always talks about feedback loops, regular meetings, data-driven for collaboration and learning and improvements. So my question, again, this is another question to the group. What regular meetings do you have and how do you have these regular meetings? So again, the question is, what regular meetings do you have and how do you have them? Why do you have them, especially in this climate? Steve M., do you want to start off the conversation?
What meetings do we have in the context of Kanban or just generally?
Just generally for any project, really, as such.
Say, well, you probably would discuss your daily progress. So something like a daily event.
Yeah.
Also for adding more work into the backlog so that you can kind of like maintain that flow. So I would say something very similar to backlog refinement.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Good. I like that. I think there's Zahid. Zahid, you raise your hand. What was your question, Zahid? Do you want to unmute yourself?
Yeah, just want to add in this. The purpose of regular meeting is to take the team in confidence that this is our progress, that we have done this, and now we are moving forward to this. So the purpose of the meeting, of a regular meeting, is to take the team in confidence.
Okay, good. I like that. So you're building up the team's confidence. Is that what you're trying to say? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. There's a really good one I like here. The daily beat up. How was your day today? Is that a daily beat up or is that daily meeting? Sync up meetings. Yes, you're syncing them up. So Kanban teaches you. Kanban doesn't only just talk about these meetings. Kanban actually teaches you how to conduct these meetings, where to conduct it, and in which format to conduct it. And we practice that as well. And when you go to these meetings, Kanban clearly states you don't go into these meetings blindly. It's data driven. You're taking data with you and you can discuss the data. Kanban is there's a lot of maths involved in Kanban. It's for collaboration, learning, and improvements. Last but not least, from the practices, Kanban talks about improve collaboratively and you involve experimentally. So you improve as a team, not as an individual. So you take the team from maturity level 0 and you take them up to the maturity level. So if you take them up the maturity level, the team will be really working and really becoming self-organizing. And we will teach you that. We'll teach you about these experiments that we do. And when you evolve and you improve, you don't evolve blindly. Kanban states again, use scientific methods to improve projects. Use data, get that data, improve it. When we're talking about experiments, we don't talk about when experiments are such, you go into these experiments, like foolishly. What are they safe experiments? Are they failed experiments? What type of experiments are you running? When are you running them? Kanban encourages experiments as well. Okay, so let's look at some Kanban boards. And when I was doing this, and I thought, let me see what I could come up with. And I was going to give you some really difficult ones, but I thought, no, I don't want to scare the community. And I thought, let's start off with a really simple Kanban board. So my question to everybody here is, look at the board that you can see on the screen. Is this a Kanban board? Simple question. You can either use a chat page or unmute yourself, please. And let's discuss, is this a Kanban board, or what sort of board can you see on the screen?
What was your question? Can you repeat, please?
My question is this a Kanban board? On the screen that you can see, is this a Kanban board?
No, it's not a Kanban board
Why is it not a Kanban board?
because there is no feedback in this board.
Okay, so how would you implement feedback then?
After deploying the project or in plan, we have to relink the feedback to the plan.
Okay, and how would you implement the feedback?
Getting feedback from our end users or
Okay,
employees.
okay, excellent. Okay, I like your viewpoint. Anybody else want to input into this? Is this a Kanban board? What would you call? What would be the name of this board anyway?
Well, I think that'd be pretty much for everything really, but it could be waterfall as well, because you know there's strategic steps that you've planned, you've developed, you've tested, you've deployed.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the end of every project, even with waterfall, I think there'd be a feedback loop as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it depends. Like in Scrum, you would do that in sprints.
Mm-hmm.
And you need a feedback at regular intervals, given the new sort of IT world is that business needs are changing very rapidly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Excellent, excellent. So somebody said there's no done column. Don't worry about the done column. Okay, I like that. Very good point. Mostly, my question to you, my friend. What do you think about this board then? What's your viewpoint on this board? Is this a Kanban board, or is this just what would you call this board then?
So from Kanban board point of view, I think what my understanding is, this is actually for the visibility of your work, the visibility of anything that you are working on. So this is kind of waterfall sort of thing. There are different phases displayed over there, and develop and test. And so for visibility point of view, we can think of this, still this is a board. This is a Kanban board.
Okay, excellent. Okay, good. I like the way everybody's thinking. And you know what? I'll put everybody out of the misery. This is actually not a Kanban board. This is actually what we call a visual board. Yeah. So let's have a look at this board here. What's the difference? Let's start. So let's have a look here. Look at this board, study this board, and then look at this board. And just look at the board and just let's talk about the differences. What do you see here? Just basic differences.
So here, this is Ishan here. I saw that because of the WIP limit, we can actually define the flow of the process.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Okay. So here, how can you define the flow of the process, Zishan?
Because of the WIP limit, we were forced to start finishing the step and moving to the next step rather than just accumulating everything at one place, and that particular phase become a bottleneck. If we don't have a WIP limit, then there may or may not be flow. But because of the WIP limit, we are forcing them to flow.
Excellent, good. So if you look here, thank you, Zishan, thank you. So we're visualizing the work straight away. We're limiting the work in progress. We're focusing on the flow, so we're flowing. There is a distinct difference between this board. So if you take your WIP limits between this board and this board, what is another difference here? Can somebody tell me? If you want to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I can take a shot at that, Nadeem.
Yeah, go on, fire away, Steve.
So, WIP limits, I would say explicit policies, and
how have you got explicit policies?
I think the one on the bottom looks like explicit policies, those ones in the green.
Okay,
no, actually, okay, I thought they were explicit policies. But,
but they're not on it, no.
But typically, yeah, and since you've color-coded the work items, I'm going to say class of service.
Excellent, yes. So this color coordination we've used. Kanban encourages color coordination here. Yeah. So we've got the difference, the main difference here. I mean, this is very, very basic standard here. So this is basically a visual board. This is definitely no way a Kanban board in any way, shape, or form. Okay, and if you hear, we've got whip limits. It's color coordinated. You can put policies there if you want, but there are no policies. And the color coordination actually helps us as well. There is a distinct difference. Okay. So you got to remember, moving on. Thank you very much, guys. It's been really good so far. So you got to remember, guys, Kanban system is all about guiding principles. So start with what you're doing now. Agree to pursue evolutionary change. We're encouraging acts of leadership. Right this very moment, I'm encouraging you guys to discuss and do acts of leadership here, to speak and be focused on what we're talking about. Practices, visualize the workflow, put a limit in, manage flow, measure the flow. I remember earlier on I talked about when you go into meetings, Kanban doesn't say go into meetings blindly, use data, use scientific evidence, measure the data. Again, there's some mentions of lead time, cycle time, excellent, okay? We teach you how to do that. And the most importantly, I was doing some work yesterday, is actually improving the team together. So you improve collaboratively, not individually. And again, you're taking the science forward here, okay? So Kanban in actual practice, a lot of people, as discussions would have been around and people say, well, okay, this is all good and let's put it in practice. So there are a couple of things that I was thinking about it. What can I do? And how can I persuade you guys to actually start implementing Kanban? One of the things, what actually straight away focus is once you use a physical Kanban board, obviously with the climate, COVID is a bit difficult right now. I mean, though before COVID happened, what naturally happens when you visualize it, you stand up and you start looking at the board, you start having teams around the board. So everybody can see the visibility is clear. There is clear collaboration and communication with Kanban forces you to discuss, is this ticket, before you even start moving the ticket, do we discuss it? Let's discuss it. Is it important? And how, if we move this ticket, it's going to affect the others. How Kanban forces you to discuss the flow of work. It reduces sources of disruption and delay. It also improves business agility, and there's also fitness for purpose as well. It's optimizing towards goal-based and on-demand capability here, okay? Another example of what kind of Kanban can do for you, it keeps the team focused. If here we look at this Kanban board here, what can you see from this Kanban board here? Can somebody tell me now? Now we started to discuss Kanban boards. What can you see on this board here on the bottom right-hand side? Anybody?
Okay, I can see the WIP limit that enforces the policies, and I can see, as Steve correctly pointed out, the different class of services.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that different class of services makes it different from the lean, because if there is no different class of services, then it is very much similar to lean, and that's make it different than the lean.
Excellent. Now, if you think about it, if we've got these WIP limits, where do you think, this is just a very general question. If you look at this board, where would you start on this board? Where would you start to work on this board? Steve, do you want to say something?
I would say when you say start work or when you inspect it.
Yeah. If you're going to work on this board, at which point on this board you would start working?
If work is already in progress, I would start from the right. If not, I'll move from left to right. But yeah, if it's already in progress, I would start from right to left.
Okay, good, excellent. Remember, guys, one thing Kanban clearly states: stop starting, start finishing. Always start from the right-hand side. Which item can we finish quickest? When can we give value and quality? It's all about value. Can we give value there? So which items are we committing to? So here, Kanban uses maths for tracking, for data-driven, for high result-orientated. It enhances transparency. Just right now, just by looking at this board, we start talking about tickets, how to move them, transparency started to come in. And at the same time, what it does is It brings in discussion here. It brings in transparency. It improves trust between team members. As there's more trust, the self-organization will also increase as well amongst the team. Okay, so if you look here, you've got customers' demand and capability to deliver. Kanban is agility here. We speak about agility. We speak about respect, the flow, the service, and all this is all about visual model. Harris, you've got a question? You wanna unmute your mic?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I was just looking at the bottom right chart that you showed previously on the previous slide. What I didn't follow was why were the number of items reducing from left to right? Is it just how you've sort of put the diagram as, or has it got any relevance?
Well, there's relevance there, but it's the diagram purposes as well here. But if you think about the whip limits, can you see the whip limits?
Yep.
That's forcing the ticket.
Cool.
Okay, thank you. Right, fair enough. So moving on, Kanban, people talk about Kanban and, is it really worthwhile doing? And I'll be very honest with you. I myself, I'm also level 3 Scrum Master, PSM3, Business Analyst, Prince 2. I've got it all. But the one thing that significantly helped me was my Kanban. It's really improved me. So Kanban offers certificates here. So if you look here, the TKP certificate, the Team Kanban Practitioner certificate, and this is straight away at a very high level. It's a practitioner level. This will teach you about how to enable a team to get started. How do we start? It'll help you get organized. It will improve visibility, communication, get people talking just like we did now. I just got you talking by just putting a simple diagram and start straight away. People start discussing. And we learn about how to be effective within a Kanban team here. Okay, we understand, we understand the core concepts of Kanban method, learning about the 3 change management principles and how do we develop change. I mean, when you go into change management, it's absolutely unbelievable. And the one thing about these certificates is there is no exam here. It's pure practical experience. The Kanban has done this on purpose. At the moment, there are no exams. What you do is you learn about these methods and implement it, and we teach you how to implement it. We learn about actually the 6 general practices for Kanban and how to implement these practices. Experience WIP. I will teach you what happens when WIP comes in and when it doesn't come in, and why and how do we calculate WIP. Do we just randomly from thin air come up with a number of 3, or do we actually do some maths and work out the team? So we look at charts and graphs. Where can we improve and how can we improve? What's going to be the effect of this? It will also teach you how to run meetings, where to focus your work on the meetings. How do we organize around our meetings? Do we just go to meetings, like I said, do we just go to meetings blindly? And some of you guys said, oh, we just turn up, we have a daily scrum. But Kanban says, no, we take data with us. It's very data-driven, maths-focused. And we learn how to proceed to the next level. So once you've done this, so you start from maturity level 0, and then you slowly work your way up the maturity model. So you've got your learning paths here. So you've got your Kanban practitioner level here, and then you've got your Kanban system here. So this is KMP1, KMP2, and then you've got your KCP over here, which is your Kanban coaching professional and your Kanban maturity model here at this point. This is a very well recommended book. It's often referred to as the Blue Book, but this is where David Anderson, I wouldn't say he created Kanban. He actually put all project management and Kanban together. Okay, and I always say Kanban was actually created back from the caveman time, but he just put it all together. This is a really good, worthwhile book to read, and I always recommend this to people to read. And has anybody got any questions that they would like to ask me? That's the end of my presentation.
Yeah, Nadeem, I have just one question that I have heard from Yeah, I have heard from my industry friends that they have used Kanban in their industry to progress the task of their products and other tasks. As I am belongs to the academia, I am academia person and faculty member. How can we apply Kanban to university management to track the progress of the department, progress of the different streams of the program, so that how can we achieve our goals in our industry needs? So how Kanban can help us in this way?
Excellent, really good. Who was speaking to? Was that Zahid?
Yeah.
Yeah, Zahid. Excellent question. Zahid just asked me, how can Kanban improve? The one thing Kanban can do, Kanban actually can fit into any organization at any point and start producing results straight away. That is one thing. The way it will help you, Zaid, is actually by visualizing your work. Okay, we visualize your work. Kanban, when you come to a Kanban course, you don't just learn blindly. So you don't just do a course for a couple of days and then you walk away and then you're going to learn. Kanban will give you the experience. I mean, when you come, what we do as a Kanban trainer, one of the things we do, we actually very specifically create a Kanban board for you, which you can take away and start implementing it on a Monday or a Sunday, wherever you are in the world, whichever it is your first day of work. Kanban
Right.
you can implement it straight away and you can start working from it. Okay, and Kanban University actually teaches you that. The case study we don't bring in any case study. We allow the participants to bring their questions to us, and we create the case study using real life, using them, and we create a Kanban system for them.
Do you have any case study in which any university worldwide applied the Kanban to trace their streams, and they have
Yeah,
applied Kanban?
there are plenty of case studies, my friend Zaid. So there's plenty of case studies. We can discuss this later if you like. That's not a problem.
Okay, I will search on that. If you say there are a lot of case studies, I will.
Yeah,
Thank you,
no,
Nadim. Thank you.
no problem, pleasure.
I have a question actually.
Yeah,
Tell me something more about Kanban management system, the KMP1. For example, if we take the TKP, and after that, if you are planning for Kanban management system, KMP1. So what's in
okay.
that actually? Is it the advanced level?
That is, yeah. I mean, you got to remember when you come to the Kanban level, you are already coming at a very high standard. Okay. What I would say is the Kanban in KMP1, we teach you static, the system thinking approach to implementing Kanban. And how do we implement Kanban for your situation, like I just mentioned to Zahid? And how do we create cadences? How do we create these feedback loops? When to implement them? How to implement them? Creating a Kanban board very specifically for you, for your roles. Bakir Bajwa has said, what are the roles in Kanban? Really, before I will come back to you, Farhan, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so for KMP1, we teach you static. For KMP2, we teach you, we really go into how to scale Kanban from portfolio level all the way down to team level. How do we scale that? So we go we go upwards, we go downwards, we go left and right. We're scaling in every direction. And before we get to that scaling, we
That
actually
means
look
it
at
is going
static.
to be, sorry to interrupt you, but that means it is going to be the different Kanban boards for portfolio level, for program level, for team level. Is that correct?
You could actually have that, or you could have one. We teach you both. Both techniques will be taught.
Okay,
Okay.
guys, try to raise your hands. That will be the best way to ask the question or interact with the speaker. And so far, we have few questions in the chat. Other than that, I think Haris, you raised your hand. Do you have any question, Haris?
Yes, indeed. Yeah. So I wanted to understand, like, how does Kanban differs from Scrum? Because we just did the CSM course recently, and it was all about, the agility and getting the things done, deploying it as soon as you've got a ready ship shippable product, but at the same time maintaining a relationship with the client that you don't lose track of their business needs and being agile with that. So what is the sort of, in summary, Kanban wants to achieve, or through this framework we could achieve? If
The
you could
basic
summarize
way,
it.
okay, Alice, a really good question. And your question, in fact, correct me if I'm wrong, the signal went a wee bit there, but your question was how would Kanban implement and help your Scrum? Is that correct?
Well, it was more like through Kanban, what are we trying to achieve? Is it just a normal project management methodology, a different one? But what is the aim to achieve by employing Kanban in your organization?
Okay, Kanban will actually, it's not just another project management methodology or framework, whatever you want to call it. What Kanban actually does, it teaches you the skills. Now, I always say this to people: if you do Kanban correctly, you will end up improving the flow of everything that you do. What Kanban gives you the tools. Scrum doesn't teach you about lead time or cycle time. Okay, Scrum doesn't teach you visualization. Scrum has started to steal Kanban functionality here. So what Kanban teaches you about lead time, cycle time, visualization, how we visualize our work, when can we improve our work. What Scrum does, it teaches you velocity and other measuring metrics, but Kanban helps you where you can, like I said, it helps you visualize your work in such a way that when you go to a customer, you can go in there with real data, which will help not just you, but will give you trust in your customer will trust you in producing the goods, and it will help improve your team efficiently. That's what Kanban will do.
Just a bit of challenge there, Nadeem, but I thought Scrum also does give us, we've got the visibility through the Gantt charts. When we are doing up the plan, we know about, how many man hours it's going to require. We've got a shippable product at the end of the sprint, so we know the cycle time is a sprint. So how would Kanban
and how do you know? So my question to you is, how many items do you know you're going to be able to deliver in a sprint?
Sorry, come again?
How many items do you know you'll be able to deliver in a sprint?
We'd know from the product backlog, wouldn't we?
And how do you know? My question to you is, how long does each item take from the product backlog to completely being delivered? Do you know your customer lead time?
Well, kind of, because the team would agree. The team would agree that we deliver this within the sprint, so we know the lead time in a way, and we can't.
You're saying. So my question to you is, you're saying you've got, for example, you've got 5 items to deliver in a 1-week sprint or a 2-week sprint. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying you've got 5 items to deliver in a 2-week sprint. Okay. Will you be able to deliver all 5 items? My question to you is, if I come to you and I say, right, Harris, what is your lead time? What is your cycle time? How long are you actually spending on each item? When do you start the item? When do you finish it? And I can sit with you, and obviously now is not the time, but I can sit with you and we can help you in every way, shape or form. We can help you actually fine tune your cycle time and lead time. And where I'm sure, Harris, you come across as a very intelligent man. I'm sure you've worked in a project where when you're working on tickets, there are always 1 or 2 tickets that are left behind. Would you agree with that?
Yep, indeed.
Yeah. So there'll be some tickets that you'll do in 3, 4, 5 days, and there will always be a ticket that's been in the queue for maybe 16 days.
Indeed, and that
As
depends
an example,
that depends on the complexity of the issue. I mean,
excellent,
and the repeatability of the issue as well.
Excellent.
If it's repetitive, then I could automate it, but otherwise,
Kanban discusses things like that, if that answers your question. Whereas Scrum doesn't. Scrum actually doesn't. So I'm also.
It doesn't go into the complexity, and in sprint, it's down to the team members, and they decide how long it's going to take.
Whereas you got to. Let me explain. If Scrum is here at this level, Kanban comes in at this level, and if you improve your Kanban, you will automatically improve your Scrum. That's the way it works. If that helps, does that answer your question, Harris?
Indeed, makes them very
so
clear.
what Kanban actually does, it's called cutting off the tail. Okay, that's what we call it. So when we look at charts and graphs, one of the things is we teach you how to read charts and graphs, and then we discuss why has this ticket taken 16 days or 65 days or 100 days, and why have these tickets taken maybe 20 days? What's going wrong? And we look at that and we discuss and analyze that sort of thing. And we
Perfect. Thanks, Lee.
eventually over time, you start cutting off the tail and you see productivity shoot up. And we actually did teach that.
Yeah, I've done that sort of stuff in Open Reach. So thank you, Nadeem. Thanks very much.
Nadeem, can I just add one sentence to what you mentioned?
Yep.
So I used to say that Kanban and Scrum are just orthogonal to each other, means there is nothing you can stop to not using Scrum and Kanban together. You can definitely use both of them together because they are very much compatible to each other.
Correct. That is why you notice all the organizations around the world that implement Scrum, they have started to do Kanban as well, implementing Kanban in their process. And in fact, one of the very first books written twice to work in half the time, there's actually a chapter in there where Jeff Sutherland talks about using Kanban boards. He doesn't go into detail, but he starts talking about it, and he's talking about it right at the beginning. And these boards do help you considerably. Any further questions?
Yes, I can see Farhan has a question. Farhan?
Oh,
yeah, I have a question actually. I have heard that Kanban is used for the support projects. Is that a myth or something?
Kanban, Farhan, can be used for anything and everything, from support projects to, I've even used Kanban for running because I'm a keen runner. So I use Kanban to help me with running as well. And you can use Kanban for literally anything. And like I said to you, Kanban, you can get Kanban. Once you know the principles, how to do it properly, you can fit it into any organization at any point in time. And any framework or methodology, and it will increase productivity. That is my promise to you if you do it correctly.
I have one more question. Is you said that TKP practitioner has no exam,
There
right?
is no
So
exam
what
in
about
any
the
certificate. There is no exam in any of the certificates.
so what about the KMP1 and KMP2? Does that have the exam, or they are also the same like that?
At the moment, there is no exam, but you have to attend the course, and then you learn from experience, and we give you that experience.
Okay, cool.
Any further questions?
One more question is, how do we scale the Kanban actually? There are many, yeah.
Yeah, we teach you how to scale Kanban in KMP2. So if you've got a standard Kanban board, what we do, we scale it from the top, from the bottom, to the left, and to the right, and how to scale it and how to implement Kanban into any project. And we teach you how to do that as well. Obviously, I can't teach you that right now, or it'll take 2 days, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think, Farhan, for next questions, we will start charging you.
Yeah.
No, it's fair enough. Fair enough.
So we have some other participants as well. Walid, do you have any question?
Yeah, I have one question, that which tool or software used for Kanban?
Oh, there are many. There are many out there. There's Scrumban. There's Jira. You can use some of it, but there's so many. There's Nave. There's if you do a Google search, there is a lot of tools and techniques. Well, tools that you can use, but it's always best to learn what you're doing first, and then you start implementing it.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you. Zishan has also answered your question in the chat page. Anything else anybody want to discuss with me?
Just one last one. I think I might be a bit annoying here, but
no, Harish, yeah, definitely not. No, my friend, definitely not. Fire away.
I was just going to say, when you say that, looking at the lead times and the cycle times, there is an element of repeatability. But if you're, for example, in an IT development environment where developers are creating new stuff, would you still be able to impact the lead and the cycle times? Or is it for items which are repeatable?
Everything can be measured. Everything will be measured and can be measured on a Kanban board, whether it's something repeatable or something that's new as well. So this new functionality that you're coming in, that you think lead time and cycle time, it's all measured. Whether it's repeatable or whether it's new, you can measure it, and that's where the data comes in and the scientific methods come in as well. And Kanban does emphasize a lot on that.
Is it like time and motion studies?
You could do, it's more of Little's law rather than time and motion. I'd say time and motion is slightly different, whereas Little's law, that's one of the methods that Kanban can use.
Well, thanks.
One last question is, okay, can we go from, in Kanban, we go from left to right. Can we go from right to left in Kanban?
Why do you want to go from right to left? Why do you want to go finish to start?
Because if we have a blocker, or if we have the dependencies of anyone, or if, for example, if anything is being tested and the bug is not resolved, so we have to move that back in to the developer. That's why I was asking.
Very, very good question, Farhan. Actually, brilliant question. We actually teach you how to deal with blockers as such. The flow is always left to right, never right to left. Okay, but we teach you how to deal with these blockers. Any further questions?
I think that's it. There's a lot of Kanban today, and this is good knowledge to absorb for one hour session. And we